Manchester, and welcome to another edition of Girard at Large. I am your ever humble host, Rich Girard. Thanks for tuning in. As you know, you can find us online at girardatlarge.com, and you can find us on Facebook and Twitter, also at Girard at Large, where we encourage you to like us and to follow us. Why? Well, every now and then you get the real truth about what's happening in the Queen City, and we get some of that coming up tonight. It amazes me today, as much as it saddens me, to see what gets covered in our local news media and what does not. So I will be bringing you some astounding clips from the school board tonight. And a little later on in the show, we will be joined by Ward 6 candidate for Alderman, Crissy Kantor. We're going to introduce her to you and give you a chance to sort of get a sense of the woman behind the campaign. And what else are we going to do? Oh, we're going to have a discussion about something that happened with the Manchester police. But first, I want to send my condolences and prayers out to Tony Pappas and the entire family and friends of Billy Pappas. People who have been around Manchester, you know, at least as long as I have, will certainly know Billy Pappas. He passed a couple days ago at the age of 89. He was nearly 90 years old. Of course, when you pick up the newspaper or today's Union Leader, you get the top story on the sports page about what a great three-sport athlete he was, both at Central High School and the University of New Hampshire. Certainly his athletic escapades are the stuff of legend, but and you got a sense of it in the article too. But you know, and I'm certainly no authority on Billy Pappas, but I can say that over my 30 plus years of activity here in the city, I have crossed paths many times with Billy. And he's one of the few people that I can say was always smiling, always had a good word for me, always had a good word for anybody else, was a diehard promoter of the city. Of course, he was ever a fixture in any of his wife Tony's many campaigns for many offices. And Billy Pappas was an all-around good person, and he's what I would call, and you know, I think the highest compliment I can give somebody in terms of how I view them in view of the civic life of the city, as a son or a daughter of Manchester. In this case, Billy Pappas, certainly a son of Manchester, a native son at that, who was always there for his community, for his neighbors, his family, and friends. His passing leaves a big hole in the hearts of many, and certainly Manchester is the poorer for his passing, though it is the better for his having been here and invested himself in so many people, places, and things right here in the Queen City. So to the family and friends of Billy Pappas, especially his wife of nearly 50 years, I think it was, maybe it's more than 50, 1967, I think it was. I read in the paper they got married. You have our sincere condolences on his passing, our prayers for consolation and healing, and the well wishes of a grateful city for all that he was, all that he meant, and all he will be remembered for. His legacy will live on. And with that, we're going to go right into the show. We're going to start with the officer-involved shooting here in the Queen City. And I'm not going to say much about it, but what I am going to say, I think, is how I'm going to outline or illustrate the problem I see with the police force here in Manchester. It's not that the police fired their weapons, although it's a little frightening to read that a total of 6 shots were fired, but only 2 hit the target, being the person who was aiming a gun at them. Kind of makes me wonder whether or not they should spend a little more time on the range, because if anybody had been behind where those 4 bullets went, we could have had more casualties. But in one of the stories I read about this officer-involved shooting, the person who was shot was pulled over by police and given a speeding ticket for doing over 60 miles an hour on Chestnut Street. Now, if that isn't reckless conduct, if that isn't driving to endanger, if that isn't slap the handcuffs on him and have the car towed away kind of behavior, I don't know what is. 60 miles an hour on Chestnut Street. Folks, at some point, someone's really got to start asking some questions about the Manchester Police Department and its enforcement of the ordinances and laws. if you can drive at 60 plus miles an hour down Chestnut Street and just get a speeding ticket, somebody isn't really serious, in my opinion, about public safety. And this starts to fall in line with some of the other stories that we've brought you about, citizens giving the Manchester Police Department video and photos clearly showing the faces of kids defacing public property. And they're told that even if there's something we could do, we wouldn't, because there's no ordinance against graffitiing public property. Well, as the guy who wrote the ordinance about graffiti here in the city back in the late 90s, I can tell you that's wrong. And there are any number of laundry lists of things where the police just don't see. Give you another example. One of my cars was vandalized in my driveway again. So now it makes it 2 hubcaps, 3 bicycles, 2 flagpoles, and now I have a 2004 Lincoln Town Car. It's a presidential series. I love my Lincoln. It's for sale though. Somebody ripped the presidential placard off of one of the sides of the car. They literally broke 3 quarter-inch metal studs to get that thing off the roofline of my car. Did I bother to call the cops? No, I didn't bother to call the cops. Just like I didn't bother to call the cops about any of the stuff that was stolen or vandalized in my yard after they gave me a case number after my house was vandalized and the flags were ripped off the front of my house, which, by the way, happened to 2 of my neighbors within a half block of each other, all in the same night, and Manchester police couldn't even be bothered to come out and look. If they had, they would have found what the neighbors and I found, with footprints and where some of the stolen material ended up, et cetera, et cetera. But if you can drive 60 miles an hour down Chestnut Street in this city and just get hit with a speeding ticket and not any, real charges, then I think we really have to have a come to Jesus moment with the police department and the community as a whole. We're talking Chestnut Street. And if you don't get what that is, then I suggest you drive down Chestnut Street, because 60 miles an hour on Chestnut Street is endangering a whole lot of people, period, full stop. So, my well wishes go out to the officers who were involved in the shooting. I don't think there's an officer, a good one anyway, that looks forward to discharging their weapon and potentially killing somebody. A little more time on the practice range, though. You're 2 for 6. That's not great. And we don't know if there was 1 officer who discharged a weapon or 2. It's still under investigation. We don't wish anybody harm, and we don't wish anybody be in a situation where harm can come. But it would never have happened if the officer who stopped the guy for doing 60 miles an hour on Chestnut Street had done his job and arrested him for, felony reckless conduct with a motor vehicle, or whatever it's called. Now, we're going to move from that to the school board. Citizens of our fair city continue to bring to the attention of the school board its mind-numbingly awful policy that prevents school district personnel from advising parents when their children are questioning whether or not they were born in the right body. We're going to show you some testimony. It might be shocking to some of you, given by citizens at the Monday night's board meeting. And then we're going to show you some of the reactions from school board members, which should horrify you. So we're going to start first with a fellow who came from Maine to address the board over its transgender and gender nonconforming policy. B?
Good evening. My name is David Kendall, and I am from Hancock, Maine. And I came here to speak on something very important. I brought you each a copy of my testimony as well as a book. You have no idea, no clue what the rainbow movement is, what it's capable of, or what its agenda is. I am a gay man. I was a transgender woman for over 20 years. I was an advocate and a member of this movement for over 30 years. The LGBTQIA trans queer rainbow cult does not represent gay men or women. This movement represents perversion. As a child, I was targeted, I was groomed, victimized by this cult in the same manner we see here with the agenda to desensitize and sexualize children. Presenting young minds with pornographic materials, pushing an agenda that is created to manipulate a child is criminal. And anyone that thinks that a child can decide their gender because of a non-existent gender spectrum is insane. I suffered from gender dysphoria. Dysphoria means an abnormal condition of mental confusion. When a child is targeted, groomed, and sexualized, there's something in that child's mind that gets tainted, and it creates thoughts and feelings that can be dangerous. These books, the curriculum, anything LGBTQIA, trans, queer, gender, or rainbow-ish, push techniques of desensitizing children to extremes. Fetishes, rape, porn, sadomasochistic roleplay, bestiality, prostitution, and so on. I was a suicidal trans kid that is always brought up in these discussions and debates. But I was also a suicidal trans adult, because transition, affirmation, and acceptance does not take away the suicidal tendencies, depression, confusion, or angst of believing that you are born in the wrong body, which is an impossibility, by the way. Defenders of this cult are only regurgitating what they've been force-fed by the cult, or those promoting, encouraging, and celebrating this assault on children. It is okay to be gay, but you do not have to be sexual, in a relationship, or run into the rainbow to be gay. 350 K through 12 educators were arrested in 2022 on sexual crimes against children. Do we not see anything wrong with educators trying desperately to defend children being sexualized and groomed? Thank you. This was me, by the way.
Yeah, so there is a person known in modern parlance as a detransitioner, somebody who changed but decided that was a big mistake and changed back. And one of the things you never hear about is the detransition movement, which is thousands and thousands and thousands of people strong. And what you missed there at the very end, because I clipped it out too soon, was he held up a picture of of his former self as a woman to show the board and to show the audience. It was rather powerful. And just, by the by, there is an event I want to bring to your attention, but I have to take a look. I forgot I had this. That is coming on April 18th. And there is a young woman whose name is Chloe Cole. I saw an interview that she did with Glenn Beck. She will be at the Holiday Inn Ballroom on 172 Main Street on April 18th at 7 o'clock. To discuss how she, as a 13-year-old, transitioned and how and why she transitioned back. She has an unbelievable story about how social media is what caused her to question herself, and what happened in her life. And I'm not going to spoil the story. You really need to see it. What happened in her life to bring it back. So here you have somebody who has detransitioned, who has come back, who was part of the movement, who is telling the school board that policies like the one they have enacted here in the city, that has gotten them sued because parents have been lied to, are part and parcel of an agenda designed to corrupt the young, if I can put it that way. Now, of course, this led to school board reaction, and well, some of it will be predictable, but some of it won't. B, let's have the next one.
So Dr. Leakley, please.
Thank you. My first question is just a technicality. I just want to make sure that everyone is signing in with the clerk when they speak, because some people don't provide their full name or their address, which is fine if they're not comfortable doing that in public. I just want to make sure that their information is provided to someone.
I don't think it's required. So it transfers, because they mention it when they sit down, their names. And any of the names that I thought that I was going to have a hard time spelling, I went out and talked to them and had them sign in.
Okay, so it was my understanding that people shared what city they were from, in the very least. Is that not the case?
Yeah, so we can't
Stop the
demand
tape.
that they...
I got to tell you, I really think this is all about making sure people who are from out of town are somehow cut off the list before they speak, especially when they show up and read the Riot Act as a person who is very familiar with the subject that they're dealing with, and kind of makes them look bad. But stand by, it gets better.
out
Roll
and
it.
talked to them and had them sign in.
Okay, so it was my understanding that people shared what city they were from, in the very least. Is that not the case?
Yeah, so we can't demand that they give us their address.
Okay, so we can follow up on that after the meeting.
Correct.
Because it's hard for me to know if people coming forward, it sounds like they don't have children in the district. Some people may be citizens of our city and some people may not be. So it would be helpful for us to know that.
Stop the tape.
So
Yeah, it'll be helpful for us to know if they have kids in the district or not, or if they're from our city or not. I guess it will tell us who we have to ignore or listen to, unless, of course, they agree with us, in which case we'll take in every single word that they want. Continue.
question.
If I could, Dr. Leapley, I'd just like to, if I could follow up on that. I'd like to clarify this issue too, because, you know, the question of whether it is required by statute or rule or whatever, when I read what is printed on the agenda, it states very clearly, any resident wishing to speak will come forward to the nearest microphone, clearly state their name and address when recognized, and give their comments. Now, it doesn't refer to any rule or law that might be based on, but I think it'd be worth, I would certainly, on the odd occasion I chair this meeting, it would be helpful to get clarification, and we should seek that from our legal counsel.
So we do have it in our board rules under 2.04, but I think Katie wants to address
I
that.
was just going to say the same thing. It's in your board rules, but so we have people sign in and give their name and address, and when Angela has that information, if someone declines to say their address out loud, Angela already has it, then her practice is to go out into the hallway and follow up with anybody who was maybe unclear or too quiet or anything, or who didn't give an address, to make sure she gets the information that she needs for the minutes. So not all of it gets said out loud, but it does come from the board rules.
Bring it back to me. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if at some point they try to prevent people who don't give all of the required information from speaking. I know in the past when a lady named Anne-Marie Banfield came to speak, there would often be pushback because she didn't live in the city, albeit she was not only a statewide or state-known, but a nationally known education advocate who oftentimes appeared before the Manchester School Board, at the behest of parents who were a little gun-shy to come before the board. Can't imagine that. But oftentimes people would try to prevent her from speaking because, well, she's not a Manchester resident. I got news for you folks. Manchester takes tens of millions of dollars in money from the state of New Hampshire and the United States of America to run its school board. That gives any taxpayer anywhere the right to come speak before that board. Continue.
Clarify, there is a signing in with a
Thank God we've got the signing
giving
in
of the
down.
address so that we know if people speaking are citizens of
Right,
Manchester or
so you
not.
can
Residents.
choose,
Thank
though.
you.
You can choose to say it out. So not everyone signs in, because when she takes the clipboard, she may have it back here, and you may arrive halfway through public comment. So it's not a requirement to sign in, but then you have to give your address or give it to Angela afterwards. Somehow she has to get it.
Okay, yep. So somehow she gets it.
Right.
Thank you. The other
Oh, and this is the crowd
two
pleaser.
other things I wanted to address just because I heard language that I wanted to clarify. So at least one speaker, perhaps more than one, referred to fixing our students' behavior. And I just want to say that the policy that we have, part of the reason it is in place is to clarify that students using language that's appropriate for the classroom and telling other students how they would like to be referred to is not a behavioral problem. So I do have kids in our district, and I am glad that my children feel safe in their schools. And I hope that all of our children can feel safe in our schools. And using a pronoun is not dangerous or negative behavior that's going to impede their learning or the learning of anyone else in that classroom. So I just wanted to say, I don't think it's our goal to fix that behavior, so I don't think we're failing in not doing so.
Stop the tape.
The other...
Okay, we're done with that one, but I'll tell you what. So we have a policy in the Manchester School District that in addition to now apparently requiring children to use the pronoun so determined by any other child in a classroom, we have a policy that allows kids to essentially pick whatever restroom they want to use based on how they identify. They can attend whatever health class they want to attend based on how they identify. They can play on whatever sports team or use whatever locker room they want to use based on how they identify. Their parents are prohibited from being told about this behavior, even if they ask. By the policy, school personnel prohibited. And Dr. Nicole Leapley is concerned about people who raise questions about pronouns. Now, there was a speaker. I did not, for the sake of time, I did not take her testimony, but it was really well-founded. And she was talking about the behaviors of children. And she was talking about how it is necessary, I believe this was Jean Esslinger, how it was necessary for parents to be informed and involved. And there was another speaker that apparently irked Mr. Christopher Potter of Ward 7, the deacon in the Episcopal Church. And Leslie Want, this lady brought a copy of the Bible. She read a verse, or referred to it anyway, about, he made them male and female. And then she unfurled this very long placard in front of her that had a whole bunch of letters. And she explained that some person who's, I'm drawing a blank on, This is all of the different pronouns that he identified himself with, and she read through them all, and they were like 17 different gender identities that this one person uses for himself, herself, itself. I don't even know what to say. And that provoked Christopher Potter, the moral conscience of Manchester, to speak. Brendan?
Committeeman Potter.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a moment and say that some of the views that were expressed tonight were extremely inappropriate and dehumanizing to our students and are not representative, as I understand it, of either this board's sentiments or the district's sentiments. I think our students are simply simply asking to be allowed to express themselves and their identity without being the target of abuse. Or harassment or violence. And I want to affirm that being trans is okay. There is nothing wrong with that. It is not anything that was implied tonight. And furthermore, I want to say that the views that were expressed tonight do not represent the entire Christian faith. If you identify as part of the LGBTQ+ community, you can still have a spiritual life. In the Episcopal Church, which is my church, for example, there are many LGBTQ+ leaders and members. Thank you, that's all.
The moral conscience speaks, condemning those whose views are wrong. Anybody read 1984 lately? And then, of course, going on to trivialize. Was he speaking to the gentleman that I showed you beforehand who pretty clearly called out as a former member of the LGBTQ movement, a former trans woman himself, a gay man by his... Are we calling him out for his incorrect views on the topic with which he has intimate and lifelong familiarity? Are we, again, chastising people who say things like he created them male and female? Who the hell is he to tell people that their opinions are morally inconsistent with his version of Christianity? It seems to me that the Christian who is peddling his own version of non-judgmentalism just might be a little judgmental, if not downright condescending to the citizens who come before the city of Manchester. But, oh well, not to be outdone. Here comes Ward 4's Leslie Want.
And lastly, I'd like to thank Committee Member Potter. I appreciate every person's right to come here and speak to us. We need to hear and listen to you, and I do every time. But I want to also associate myself with being Catholic, that please do not take the Christianity or anything that's represented in the Bible as like what was spoken here tonight, that represents Christianity. Because in my heart, it does not. So, but thank you.
Christianity! You can't make this stuff up. So apparently she is reading an edited version of the Bible where the stuff that has been brought up, and they're making it sound like we got all these Bible thumpers coming to the school board. Hallelujah! And no, we've seen, and I've showed you these clips in the past of people who've come forward. There have there been biblical references? There sure have been. Has anybody, wagged their finger, condemned them in the name of God, said they're going to hell, etc., etc.? No. But they have pointed out that, better to have a millstone tied around your neck and thrown overboard than to harm a child. That was a big no-no in Christopher Potter's world. And then now we have Leslie Want objecting to somebody pointing out that the scriptural passage about he made them male and female, well, making the point that says, biology doesn't mistakenly put your soul in the wrong body. I think there's a little bit more on this one. I think our good friend Jim O'Connell, who, by the way, is chairing the school board in the absence of the mayor, he looks rather comfortable behind that rostrum. I wonder if he is going to take the plunge and run for mayor. But is there any more on that one, B? No, that was it. That was it. All right. So we didn't extend it to, I didn't extend it to that. But there we have it. This is your school board in action condemning the public as having a wrong-headed version of Christianity, of speaking in a way that just doesn't represent the board or the district. No, they represent their own opinions, opinions that you as an elected official representing them, Committee Member Potter, probably want to at least pretend you're going to try to understand. Or is this, but this is the modern day version of tolerance. The modern day version of tolerance says that we condemn, lie about, accuse, slander people we don't agree with in the name of tolerance because they don't accept, agree with, believe, or otherwise conform to our point of view. That is your school board, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a break. When we come back, before I do that, I am going to tell you, 6 o'clock Monday morning on WFEA, AM 1370. I will be on with Drew Klein, and I will at that time make my decision as to whether or not I am going to run for mayor known. On that, we're going to take a brief break, and we'll be back with Crissy Kantor, candidate for Ward 6 Alderman, right after this. And we're back. But before we get to Crissy Kantor, I meant to go to the phones because we have Kathy on the line, and we're going to bring her on right now. Kathy, call back. Hey, that's fine. I completely forgot that she was on the phone. Kathy, if you're out there watching, pick up. Kathy, I'm betting it's you.
Hi, Rich.
Hi, Kathy. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you?
I'm unbelievable.
I just want to make a quick comment. I thought public comments were supposed to be welcome. How can any member of the public feel welcome when after they speak, they're open to ridicule by the school board?
Mm-hmm.
This is absolutely insane. This is not a welcoming to the public policy at all. It's speak at your own peril and then be ridiculed.
Exactly. And that's why it's amazing to me that people continue to come and speak. And one of the things that obviously I didn't show is, the school board's response to public comment section actually was longer than the public comment section. And there were some people that I showed you tonight who, were not so artfully displaying their scorn. But then there were others who just, felt the need to, thank every single person who came up and say something about everybody who look. If you got if you have a direct rebuttal to factual information. Now, I was on the school board when this started, when the response to public comment thing was done, because frequently what would happen is people would come to the board and they would ask a question or something, and the way it was structured is public comment was over, then we went into the board meeting. There was no opportunity for responses to the public. And what's happened now with responses to the public, so if a school board, if a member of the public came and asked a question or made a point or said something that, really would be appropriate for a response to happen, that's what that response to the public thing was for. Now, it's for people to attack opinions they don't agree with. It's for people to say, oh, well, as everybody said, do we at least know what cities they're from before they talk? They sit there proselytize, or they gotta, oh, well, thank you for coming. Everybody was great. Yay. This is
really, it's a ridiculous process. At the State House, I was a state rep for many years, the legislators hearing the testimony are supposed to listen and be polite. This is not even basic courtesy. What kind of an example is this about democracy in action for the students that these guys are supposed to be representing?
Well, when you have the high moral ground occupied by the likes of Leslie Want and Christopher Potter, who are very willing to flaunt the tenets of their own churches so they can be seen as woke and acceptable to the diversity crowd.
Wait a minute, excuse me, not the tenets of their own churches, not the Catholic Church. Thank you very much.
Well, she is definitely not in line with the Catholic Church, or is Jim O'Connell, who with the ashes on his forehead is lecturing everybody about the trans policy and, why it's there to protect students and how it's blah, 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 blah.
Well, then, obviously, they have not seen Pope Francis's very recent thing on the transgenders, and he's very liberal. So maybe they better take a look at it, because it's not what they're saying.
Well, they're more enlightened than the rest of us, which is why they are free. Which is why they feel free to contort and twist their, the faith they claim they practice to attack others who actually are standing by it. So,
well, I wish they'd be more polite and considerate of the people that want to speak their piece.
I agree with you, Kathy. But thank you for the call. It's always good to hear from you.
Thanks. Bye.
All righty. Now, joining us is Crissy Kantor. She is running for Alderman in Ward 6, and I asked her to come on the show because I've heard from folks in our large and loyal listening audience about Crissy Kantor, and I'm getting some of this. Who is this Crissy Kantor person? Is this someone, Rich, you think we should consider voting for? My short answer to that is absolutely. And this next interview will be designed to share a little bit of the personal side. We want you to get to know Crissy Kantor. In full disclosure, I met Crissy when I was campaigning for the state Senate over the summer. It was the We Are One festival at Veterans Park. She was there with her, she owns the Chill Day Spa, which is on Hanover Street. So she was there as a vendor supporting the local cultural community. So we have her here to introduce herself to you, our large and loyal listening audience. And feel free, by the way, to call 603-640-3091. Crissy, welcome to the Girard at Large show.
Thank you so much.
This is great. I almost feel like I'm back
Honored
on the radio.
To be here. Thank you.
And you did have a radio show yourself, did you?
I did. It's called Chill and Heal, and it was WFEA, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. But I took a leave of absence so I could focus in on the campaign.
Oh, great. So tell us a little bit about the show. We're gonna talk about the important stuff. We're going to talk about the radio show, because, radio is near and dear to my heart. But we're going to talk about the radio show first, and then we're going to take a short interview here and help people get to know you.
Thank you.
The radio show, what was that about?
As a hairstylist, I stood behind the chair.
Wait. Bring it back to me, Brendan. Hairstylist.
Hairstylist.
What can you do for me?
Well, just a little trim. Looks good.
All right. So
Yeah.
you've been, it's still in vogue to call it, say you're a hairstylist.
I mean, that's what I call it. Hairstylist, hairdresser, stylist. A little bit of
Now, how
anything.
long have you been making people look their best?
Oh, thank you.
Now, is that all you do is
32
hair?
years.
I mean, tell us
Hair.
a little.
Well,
Okay.
as a cosmetologist, you can do hair, skin, and nails. I'm kind of ancient, so I'm grandfathered in
So you can do
to
hair,
be
skin,
able
and
to do
nails?
everything.
Now, do
Yes.
you personally do everything, or
I
do you have-
personally do hair.
You personally do hair. So at the Chill Day Spa, do you also
Yep.
have people who do, skin and nails?
Yes,
and all that?
and they're called estheticians.
Estheticians.
Estheticians, yes. And they specialize in skincare.
They specialize in skincare. All right.
And there's about 5 of us.
Okay.
Well, 5 of them. Even though I can do skincare, I don't. I
don't.
specialize in the hair.
You specialize in the hair. Okay, so
Yes. Mm-hmm.
you're a small business person, but back to the radio. So tell us about the radio, because I actually have a legitimate sort of angle on this, because
Mm-hmm.
having been in radio for as long as I've been in, I've learned that radio attracts, I think, a certain personality to get involved. So, what was the radio show about? Why did you start it? What was your content? What was your purpose?
So my purpose was I talked to so many amazing people and I learned so much, and I wanted to share what I've learned, and also wanted to share the people that I've met to kind of show the different perspectives of life. And these shutdowns and everything really affected all of us, and it's so important to connect. And the isolation is not good. It's not good for anyone. And it's unacceptable. And so for me, I wanted to show what's going on with our mental health, how we can feel better, how we can heal in so many different ways, from just going for a walk to fueling our mind. So the concept is fueling our mind, body, and soul with goodness. And it's about truth. It's about laughter. It's about digging deep. So just kind of bringing reality, like chill girl reality.
So it sounds to me like you wanted to kind of give people information and stuff, but ultimately it sounds to me like you wanted to give people hope.
Yes, definitely hope.
Okay.
Hope. And what works for one person might not work for another person. So that's why there's not just one cure. And that's why it's so important to try different things, because we're all made differently. And
Fair enough. Now, you're a small business owner. How long, when did you start being a beautician, a hairstylist, whatever it is? You said you were old enough to be grandfathered.
yes, grandfathered in for aesthetics.
Aesthetics. Okay, so I'm going to, they say gentlemen should never ask, but no one's ever accused
Oh, I'm
me to-
53 and I'm proud.
When I found that
53 and free.
when I found that out, I was floored. I don't know what you can see on TV. I honestly thought you were like 40.
Oh, well, thank you.
So,
And I have 2 grandbabies,
okay.
2 amazing daughters.
So you have 2 girls and 2
Yeah.
grandchildren. All right. Kind of like a full house going on.
Full
there.
house, full house.
And you're a small business person.
Yes.
So tell us how you get started. And, we'll start there. How'd you get started?
Well, I grew up here.
In Manchester?
In Manchester. Went to Webster School. I actually went to Beach Street School first.
Did you?
Yes. And then I went to Webster, and then Hillside and Central. And I went
Well,
up to
nobody's
college for
perfect.
1 semester. Where'd you go?
I'm a Blue Knight.
Oh, Central all the way.
Little crosstown rivalry, yeah?
It's all good. And I went off to college for 1 semester, and I drove home and said, you know what? I just want to be a hairdresser.
Yeah.
I say just. I don't know. I love making people feel good. So I went to Continental Academy of Hair Design in Manchester.
Okay.
And worked over at the Mad Hatter for a few years.
Oh, I remember that place.
Yeah, Cheryl Souza, amazing.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Vigu now.
Yeah.
And a little bit later, but in 1997, I bought my building, and it was actually an archery shop. The
Really?
Glances owned it. Yeah.
Okay.
So I turned.
Actually, I think I remember that.
Yeah, it was Skip Glance.
I didn't know who owned it, but I do remember it
Mary
being an
and,
archery shop. Yeah.
Mary Glance was his mom.
Okay.
Yeah, so I bought that building and turned it into a beauty salon, and it was called Crown of Glory. So that was 1997.
Okay.
A few years later, I ended up having my daughter Dante, and took a couple years off, sold the business, rented it out to a couple other great women that ran a couple of their businesses there. And in 2006, I had the idea through my dad of moving the house over to the other lot so that I could build a bigger parking lot and I could have a second story.
So the house you live in, which is next to the salon, was what, on the other side?
It was actually right next door to Chill Spa. So it was actually in the parking lot.
Oh, so where the parking lot is now is where the house was?
Yes.
And you picked up the house
Picked
and
up
you
the
moved
house,
it.
rolled it over, and built a new foundation. Actually, Max Chasen was the one that did the foundation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was
and
that
he's a
like?
firefighter.
What was that like? Was the city a pain in the neck to deal with, or
Well, I had
the building department? You know.
it was a little difficult. I've had my ups and downs. I have some recommendations for future.
You mean recommendations on how the city could be business friendly, given your
Yeah,
experience as a
even
business
though I think
owner?
that they've grown and they've been really much more friendly, but I think that I had to pay for my granite curbing, and I didn't know that the city actually would have paid half. And that's a big chunk of change.
Granite curbing ain't cheap.
Yeah, especially along the whole Hanover Street. Yeah.
So you moved the house.
Moved the house,
You started Chill Day Spa.
started Chill Spa.
Okay.
It used to be Chill Day Spa, then
Now
we
it's
switched
just
it
Chill
to
Spa.
Chill Spa.
Okay.
Yes. And we started with no clients. And in the beginning of, people are like, "You're so crazy. What are you doing? You're building a spa?" This is right before everything.
Okay. So goofy guys like me,
Yeah.
what exactly is a spa?
So we do facials, massage. We only do a little massage now because Kim, one of our massage therapists, is only there one day a week.
Okay.
But we do facials, manicures, pedicures, makeup. I actually got my makeup done today by my daughter. It's nice to just like sit and have a little makeup done. Oh gosh, makeup. We do hair now, but
Okay.
originally we didn't start with hair, but now we do hair.
Oh, so hair was added later.
So
Now-
it's all feel good. Skincare, body treatments.
So when did you start? What's a body treatment?
So a body treatment is scrubs on your body,
Oh, okay.
exfoliating your skin, rejuvenating, hydration.
You can tell I'm really like in tune with this stuff.
You would really like it. And we do the best pedicures too.
You know, I can't tell you how many people have told me I should have one of those done.
Okay, once you have one, it's over.
Okay.
You'll be booking them like once a month. It's the truth because it's so relaxing. And it's a full body treatment because you're sitting in a amazing, luxurious pedicure chair.
Ah, well, I think it's probably all the door-to-door that I've done that people like, you really should get one of those. So
Oh.
I'll give it a try.
Definitely.
But so when did you open Chill Spa?
In 2006.
In 2006.
So right before the crash.
Right before the crash. And you obviously weathered the crash.
We weathered the crash, and it was pretty remarkable because we started with no clients. Usually when you start a spa, you have a hair base.
Yeah.
Like I was a hairstylist, but I wasn't a stylist anymore, really.
Right.
I'd
'Cause
taken
you
a
sold
break.
the business. You took a break.
Yeah.
So how many people work for you now?
There's about 10 of us.
10 people. So
We were,
you
before COVID, there was 16 of us, full time. There's a bunch of us that are part time because, family first. So
Right.
I built my business based around and worked my schedule around my children's schedule. So we're family friendly. We're just passionate.
So you built it
women.
from nothing
Nothing, no clients.
to 16 full-time employees, and then COVID sounds like did a number on you.
Yeah. Horrible.
And you're how's the recovery from COVID going?
What are
your
Busy.
challenges?
Our biggest challenge is
Is it finding people to do the work?
finding people to do the work.
Are you finding that any of your clients sort of hesitating to come back, or
They did at the beginning,
Yeah.
but we're just really focused on really getting people in, making sure they're feeling comfortable, and
so how did you survive COVID?
oh man,
I mean, it sounds like it did damage
by the grace of God,
by the grace of God, but
yeah.
were you taking PPP money? I mean,
We
you don't-
did. So I've never taken money in my life. I was scared.
You're gonna lose everything.
Yeah, I was scared. It was nerve-wracking. So I did do that. So we were able to get people off of unemployment and be able to pay them even when our clients weren't coming in. So that was good. And you know what? We just left our doors open. And once people started coming in, it started flowing.
So what are your challenges now as you try to, I assume you're trying to rebuild it back to
Yeah.
where it was?
Yeah, eventually. I guess the biggest challenge is, I mean, I love the girls that we're family. And of course, they went from full-time down to part-time because we have kids. If I could just get a few more people like that. But it is, yeah.
So are you actively looking for part-time people or
Yeah,
full-time people? Or both?
part-time, full-time. It just depends. I always say it has to be like the perfect fit for everyone. Like, we want you to love working with us. And
now, do you have any hope that some of the people that left you during COVID will come back? The employees?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've kind of moved on.
Yeah, and I think it's really hard to find massage therapists too.
Okay.
I know a lot of places that it's hard. But I went to a spa show in New York, and they have this amazing machine. I'm going to end up going back and trying it. It literally massages you. It's like really actual, it's like a robot.
Really?
And I was like,
Well,
interesting.
My chiropractor has got this table I love to lie down on. It's, I don't know what it does, but it's
I wonder if it's the same one as my Dr. Zimmerman is my chiropractor.
So he's mine too.
Oh,
so you know the big blue table.
Yes,
All
totally. And he has totally helped Caitlin, who is practically my partner, esthetician. And so she slept wrong in 3 days. It's been painful, but she's getting better.
She's good.
Yeah.
So you have people who do manicures, pedicures, 1 day a week massage, makeup, and hair. Are you the only one who does hair, or are there other people?
Jess does hair
Jess
too.
does hair too. So now
And lots of brows.
lots of
Because we need to brow up right now.
well, I get these cats' brows as
We can trim those.
Yes. Is massage therapist aside, is there sort of like one service that you're really looking to sort of bring somebody in to help with, or?
Being an esthetician, there's so many different treatments they can do. So that's pretty much
what you're looking for.
Yeah, esthetician that likes to do nails too. And it's nice because you get a little variety of everything. You can do manicures, you can do spray tans, you can do skincare.
Oh, hey, maybe I should get one of those. People can call me Orange Man Bad.
Yeah.
So, all right.
But we do really good spray tans.
All I need is 20 minutes in the sun. I get.
So true.
So now you moved to where you live now in 1997. Did I hear that right?
Yeah. So I bought the building. It was the building and the house, and I moved there in 1997 with my daughter Sawyer. I was single mom, and then later on I got married and I moved. And then I was so grateful to be able to buy it back from Dan Sullivan, who I had sold it to. It was about a year before COVID hit, and I still thank him because to me that saved my life because I was able to stay next to my business. At that time, I'm totally by myself, and it kept my mind going, and I was able to help get products to clients and things like that. So it's so important to keep our mind going. And fear, we just need to kill the spirit of fear right now and not be fearless.
Well, there are a
full
lot of people
anymore.
Feeding the spirit of fear these days.
Yeah, well, I'm casting it out.
Now, how long have you lived in Ward 6?
So technically, 1997, and then I was gone for maybe 10 years. And then I've been back.
And when you say gone, were you still in the city?
I was in Auburn for a couple years,
Okay.
but then I was over on Blevins Drive.
Oh, yeah.
Which
up in
I
Ward
actually
1.
grew up on Blevins Drive too.
Oh, so you
Yep, in high school. Yep.
Gotcha. So you've been in the ward, you'd say, for how long now?
Since 1997.
Since 1997.
Because I love working.
Oh, so even though you weren't living there, you were still working there because that's where you bought the spot.
Yes.
Got it. All right. So you're very familiar then with the east side of the city.
Yes.
And I'm sure your clients come from all over Manchester and beyond.
Yes. And I didn't realize how many Ward 6 clients we have too, which
Okay.
is really nice.
So tell me about Ward 6. You were running for alderman. Why? What prompted you to say, because you've never done anything like this before, right?
No, I've never done this.
So you've you've raised your family. You've started a business. It's successful.
Thank you.
Ventured into the radio.
Yes, ventured into the radio.
Ventured into the radio
because I care.
Because you care, and it seems a bit
Kind of crazy?
well, out of step, out of character. I mean, it doesn't sound like there's much going on in your life that would lead you into politics. So why?
Because I want to make a difference and I want to be a voice to other people. And to me, I have small business skill set and common sense, and I'm willing to learn anything. And there's so many people that are disappointed but love our city. And
Now, when people are sitting in your chair, do they talk about the city? What do you, I mean, is Manchester a discussion topic when people are in your spa? And
sometimes,
what do they say? What would you say the top two things that people, when they bring up the city, say?
downtown, the homeless issue,
Okay.
drug addiction, and it affects so many people, and it doesn't discriminate. And business, people that want to, even from out of town, they don't want to come downtown because they're getting harassed. So this is real. And being a hairstylist, you hear it. You hear them complain. No one wants to be bothered, and business owners don't want to be bothered either. In that sense, they want to be able to do business and not be pestered, and it's not okay.
Now, this might not be a fair question to ask, but when people are complaining in the chair or whatnot, do they ever have any solutions, some thoughts on what to do about it? Do you have any particular thoughts on how where the city's succeeding or failing in addressing the issue, and what would you like to see done differently?
I know that addiction is the root of most of the problems, and I think that we need more help along that line. It's not easy to access help, and if you get in trouble with and you go to jail, it's not easy to get a phone call out sometimes. And
to be perfectly honest with you, I wish there were more people that were being arrested and sent to jail, not because I want to criminalize homelessness, but we've made it in this city so comfortable for and I'm going to say
we're enabling them.
We are enabling them, but there's a difference between someone who's homeless because they can't afford to make their rent payment, let's say, and someone who's homeless, like a guy Robert I showed on this TV show, who went to one of those downtown meetings where where the homeless director was listening with the guy with the ZZ Top beard and the whole 9 yards, and he said, my name is Robert, and I choose to live on the streets because I'm an active user, and it's up to you to find a place where I can safely use. And our homeless director went, yes, we have to accommodate, we have to meet everyone where they're at and accommodate all of their needs.
Well,
and I mean, what's left of my hair just burst into flames and jumped off my head. I mean, to me, it's the wrong approach. And frankly, I wish there were a few more handcuffs, being used to haul these people who are clearly breaking the law, downtown.
Yeah, if they're
so to
breaking
speak.
the law, they need to be taken in.
So, but I didn't
Period.
mean to filibuster.
No. I guess it's not an easy.
It's not an easy situation.
It's
and
not,
you're right.
and you want to handle it with compassion, but accountability is the most important thing, and enabling is not good. And I think so often with drug addiction, we don't even realize we're enabling, and we need to give them hope, but they need to be held accountable.
Well, it seems to me if they're spared the consequences of their actions, they have there's nothing to dissuade them from doing it. Just my observation.
I just think everyone makes choices, and we all don't have to pay for people's bad choices all the time.
And that's exactly what we are doing. And you can see it in our, in our quality of life. You can see it in the people who are leaving here. On one hand, you've got a city that is attracting some businesses, especially in the mill yard around the army thing where they're, trying to grow limbs and all of that high-tech bio stuff. But, when people are looking, even if they're going to be living in some of the apartments that are being built here in the city, when it comes time to raise their families, they're moving to the suburbs that have all this single-family housing that we here in the city of Manchester are doing everything we can to trash. And to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
It doesn't. And I've spoken to a lot of business owners that are done. They don't want the homeless around them. And it's not fair to them, and it's not fair to the people that are frequenting their businesses. So we need some accountability.
I will agree with that. All right, we have Phil on the phone. Phil, thanks for calling in. Phil, you're on the air.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you for calling.
A little plug. You're welcome. I'll be supporting Crissy and just give you a little background that I know about her. I was teaching in the Hillside, and I got a phone call one day to show up in the office and listen to a business person that wanted to come in and help the children. So I came in, I listened, and all I heard was positive. We need to help. We're here to make things right. And everything was pointed in the right direction. She had no hidden agenda. It wasn't about her business. It wasn't about getting her name out. It wasn't about any of that. It was about her experience at Hillside and trying to share it with the younger generation, especially the young ladies. And she ended up running a few groups, bringing in pizzas, having lunch with them, talking to them, just basically listening and letting them know they weren't alone. And then the end of that kind of story was we had a big assembly where hair products were passed out and hygiene products, just letting kids know that there are people out there that care about them, and that they weren't alone. Yeah. And she did it in the background, so to speak, with no hidden agenda. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, good for her. Turn the clock in 3 or 4 years or whatever it is, time flies. And it's like, all right, now I'm running for Alderman. I'm like, well, good. Now I'm on your side. So good luck, Crissy. And I hope people get out there in Ward 6 and vote for you.
Thank you so much, Phil. I really appreciate you. Oh,
Phil,
You're welcome.
thank you for the call, Phil. So, tell us about this. You went to what motivated you to go to Hillside and help out the way Phil.
you know,
Phil
it makes
has
me a little
described.
teary-eyed because
Yeah.
I love, you know, you don't want people to feel alone, and you and helping people feel worthy is how we're gonna come out of this, and that is the most important thing, and connecting, and that's why it's like this outreach and zeal. Church where I go, they're doing a lot of outreach, and we need to share the good things in life and lift each other up.
So you just were motivated or inspired to go to
Yeah.
Hillside and see what you could do to sort of reach out to
Yeah.
young girls, apparently.
Because, you know, we're awkward at that age. I was like,
Yeah,
you
well,
know,
the young
people
boys
will
have
say,
it all
oh,
together."
yeah, well, you know, we're awkward. We don't know, and, you know, we want to be popular. And so I have people that are like, oh, you were so popular. I'm like, maybe, but I was really insecure.
Yeah.
Felt really uncomfortable in my skin, and I don't want other people to feel that way. So to me, it's embrace your unique self, your personality, your style, you know, and just be you and be kind and let other people, you know, have their own personality. You know, I mean, we don't need to be divided. We need to let people be free to be themselves, but not, I'm sorry, but all the pronouns, that really complicates things. At 51 years old, I went to a,
I'm going to have to.
All right.
We are out of time.
I'll tell you that later.
You want to tell folks how they can get a hold of you if they'd like to help you in the campaign?
Yes, you can reach me at cantorformanchester.com or up on Hanover Street at Chill Spa, and everyone is welcome, and we love everyone.
Cantorformanchester.com. That's Kantor. I am your ever humble host, Rich Girard. Thanks for tuning in. Until next week, be good, be well. Don't do anything we wouldn't do. We're proud to have in the audience. Thanks so much for being there. Good night.